This plant in Dorama has suffered 2 major accidents in 3.5 years. And on this day, Algeciras was very badly affected. People were told to close their windows as the only means of protecting themselves, when really that thick smoke is containing a lot of different chemicals, hydrocarbons that are produced when you burn oil, and it's a dangerous substance to breathe, so it can give you lots of health symptoms, and the authorities should have guided citizens to report themselves to A&Es and whatnot if they suffered any of this. We know that the Verde Mar NGO is filing a complaint with La Junta to investigate not just the accident, but preceding that, what its day-to-day performance is, what other emissions. Clearly the plant suffered an accident 3.5 years ago, it suffered another one today. What level of overview is there, of oversight is there of these kind of industries? When you talk about best practice and higher standards, this is EU regulation, so they are the place to go to say, are these being adequately enforced by La Junta and by the environmental authorities in Spain? We can't activate such a complaint because we are out of the EU. It was one of the biggest blows that we felt we suffered here in Gibraltar, not being able to help protect the environment and the people against this kind of incidents, because without the EU umbrella, we are quite helpless. We were contacted by colleagues from across the way who thought that the EU should be involved. We said, look, if you initiate any such proceedings, then we will, of course, support in whatever way we can.
We talked about what it is that we can do at this stage, but what about on the other side? You talked about how there were protests the last time something happened. Will this activate, do you think, people once again on the other side of the border to start maybe raising questions and say, what's going on here? This has happened again. What can they do?
The last time there were protests in San Roque because the winds drove the pollution straight into their town. So people were very directly affected, and it was a larger fire. This time the contamination spread across Algeciras, and there were a lot of comments and a lot of reactions online, we were told, from residents there. But it didn't last as long as the first one, so it didn't galvanize that kind of response. But what we feel is imperative is that we cannot wait for deaths to occur before plants like that are brought to account. So if this plant cannot function cleanly, then it's got to be shut down. How many more fires of this kind do we need before that happens? We know that there are some positive moves happening in the bay. There's solar power, there's green hydrogen, there's all sorts of big projects to address climate change. But we know that the petrochemical installation de facto is a polluting industry, and the only way that it can function is by adopting higher standards and best practice. And if you don't have that, then they're just ticking time bombs, and it can affect the whole bay. So Gibraltar Government, please look into this and see exactly what's happening and what can be done to stop these things from happening.